All right, Gremlins. Today we're going to be discussing some poppin' news in the fencing world. I'm sure everyone knows what one of those is going to be. So, we're going to touch on Race Imboden's retirement, and then we're going to get into the juicy juice. So let's go ahead start with the wholesome. So unfortunately, yeah, I mean, it's been more or less coming. It's been on the horizon. Race hasn't really been on the international scene or really on like, the national circuit at all for like the last 2 years. He kind of cut his ties with U.S. fencing, moved over to France, started coaching his wife Istora. And none of this is a negative, that's just his path. That's where he chose to go. But 4 days ago, he released this, statement being like, "Hey, I've had my time. I'm out. Deuces." So I just wanted to go through that real quick. Basically, he's just touching on kind of his journey within the fencing community, saying how his personality clashed with, what is, the stereotypical fencer, and I would agree. He's a little brash, he's a little out there. But personally, I think it was fucking amazing to watch. He had pound for pound, just the best style aesthetically, just on the strip in terms of foil. And yeah, so it's been cool. And I'm really gonna miss him because he was like the first fencer that I was like, oh, I'm following you. He's like my first like introduction to like celebrity fencing. He's as big of a celebrity as you can be within our sport or was. But yeah, so he's just touching on like, hey, I had a chip on my shoulder. I was changing the game. He goes, I love fencing. I hate the system. Each shit sucks. But he kind of loses me a little bit here, where he's like, I've experienced the life of a Ronin. It's like, come on. I know that you're a little artistically bent and stuff, but great. But I will say, I will miss, him on the strip, and I will definitely miss, or I lament that we will not be getting any more race swearing compilations. Him messing up a pair of posts. Fuck. It's great. I love it. But he has this really interesting bit right here where he goes, I walked away because I'm not willing to fight upstream for fencing any longer. Fencing for me was an act of rebellion and expression. The race you knew was a character I crafted in a world only I can imagine. The character now must move on. That race was different. He is out of place, yada yada. Basically saying that he got tired of it. And it's like I kind of respect that he's like, yeah, I was playing a character, because he was, and it's like it's not a bad thing, and I don't think it's even disingenuous to be like, hey, I was playing a character, because he was basically going against this grain of like hyper polite, like, oh yes, yes, good bout and stuff. That stuff is all good, and I love good sportsmanship. But you also need someone to kind of like shake it up. Race was not like disrespectful or like mean on the strip or anything. Like he could have an attitude, but like you know it was always in good fun, and I'm gonna miss that character. And I think the closest person that we have to that character right now is Miles. Hello, Miles. So yeah, so I'm curious to see where he goes. And then he goes on to be like, hey, I built a world around fencing, one that ultimately inspired fashion, art, and cinema. So clearly, and you can see just by looking at his Instagram. He has, not only interest but talent outside of fencing. He's pretty artistic. He's got a pretty good eye for like striking photography and stuff. He's just kind of an artsy dude in general. So it's drippy too, whippy, and this is iconic ass with sheesh, smoking some more. Love it. Smoke him if you got him, baby. Yeah, he just presents like a very raw persona. It's kind of like, slightly pretentious, artsy white boy, but I like it. I'm here for it, and I'm really excited to see like what projects or whatever passions he pours himself into. So that's Race. Mwah, love you, Race. Hope you're doing well, and I'm gonna miss you, man. The fencing's worse without you. And now to the juice, what everyone's talking about, right? So if you live under a rock, I'll break it down for you. So Curtis McDowell, men's epee fencer, was at the Pan American Games. This is in the semifinals. Oh, thank you, Slicer, for letting me riff off your content. So Curtis is the semifinals of the Pan American Games against Colombia, and there's basically what the Cliff Notes. So Curtis, for those of you who are not familiar with him, and to be clear, I will be speaking exclusively to his on-strip persona. I don't know him, never met him. I've seen like maybe one clip of him, outside of the strip, like some little FAE like interview thing. But I think he could be a supremely pleasant, nice dude off the strip, but the persona that he presents, whether it's a character like what Race is saying or not, it's dickish. He's a dick on the strip, and that's fine. There's plenty of clips of him being like, oh wow, oh yeah, like, oh god, or just losing his mind at 5'5", kind of shoving, jostling opponents and stuff, kind of uncalled for stuff, but like it's stuff that he has made a part of his fencing and like his personality and his brand within fencing, within the fencing world. And for better or worse, that's what he's known for now. He's just kind of like an arrogant kind of dick. And it's like, like I'm saying, it's not an indictment of his personality off strip. It's like that's the role that he chooses to sell himself as while he fences. And this, what we're about to watch, right? It's like kind of a culmination of the last 6 years of, in my opinion, slightly bad habits that he's been building up, but it is a failing in part on his teammates and most importantly his coaches. That no one's really sat down with him and be like, "Yo, dog, like, getting black carded or having a reputation for getting black carded and all this stuff. Like, it's one thing to have some swagger, it's one thing to have like a little attitude and stuff, but like when it starts affecting your performance in terms of like not getting points for a tournament, time to chill out a little bit." And to present my thesis, I think the black card was deserved. I don't think it should apply to the team. And I do think it's a little nitpicky the way it went around or the way they went about doing it and why they issued it. And I also think that, Curtis was really made out to be like kind of a demon, but like really like super in the wrong. Like, oh my God, what an asshole, all this stuff. There are some moments in here where I could see how he could be reasonably upset. Did he go a little overboard? Sure. But it's like, I don't think it's like as, oh my God, as like people are making it out to be. So let's go ahead and look at a few moments that I have written down in this handy cheat sheet. So this is the first incident I kind of want to talk about. So he's going to flesh, kind of mess up the distance, get parried, and then they're going to go into infighting. So let's watch it in real time. Right? So he's kind of, you can see right here. So this is what he gets carded for. His arm ends up wrapped around this guy's waist. So if you go back just a little bit and flesh, right? So that's parried, going in. It's kind of understandable that you would end up in this slightly awkward position. The dude on the right is a lefty. So it's kind of weird to flesh past them anyways. So I can see why he gets wrapped up here. And so he's, doesn't quite clear him, and his arm comes down around him, ends up wrapping around his waist. But it's kind of like, it's weird to clear your arm like this. And if he tried to like kind of brush it down the way you normally would after a flesh or something, you can see it's kind of getting caught on this, on the lead right here on the wire. So he ends up getting wrapped up in this guy. And the dude's kind of doing like a weird over the arm angulation as well. So all things considered, I personally don't think that this jostling or this grabbing was intentional. He's trying to avoid him, and you can see literally right here that he's getting caught on the wire. He ends up getting stuck there, doesn't quite make it past him. Oh my God, YouTube. Anyways, you get the idea, right? Ends up uh, uh, wrapped around him. So he's not even hugging the guy. Like he's genuinely tangled up there, right? When he's patting him, he's like, "Oh shit, my bad, dog. My bad. Hey, sorry, sorry." Right? And that's like, that's chill. It happens. I don't think he should have been carded for that because to me, jostling intentionally is like if, you mess up the distance and then you start shoulder checking into someone so that way, like, they can't get around you or whatever. And Curtis has been guilty of jostling before. I do not think, by any stretch of the imagination that it was really his fault in this case, or like intentional, I should say. That's kind of frustrating. I think he doesn't know that he has a yellow card here, but he's gonna bring him back, or she's gonna bring him back. And then he's like, oh man, why? And to be fair, and let's look at this like in a holistic way. Let's not just because you know the end result, I mean, oh, look at him being such a dick here. He's not. He's actually like, hey, I just don't know. And this you gotta understand. It's like it's easy for us to sit in our armchairs and our little, be little keyboard warriors and be like, this is but it's like, dude, This is a high stakes, very critical Olympic qualification period. This is like, you need points and stuff, and it's tied up, and there's a lot of pressure on him, So it's like emotions run high. That's sport. That especially one-on-one combat sport, especially in a team event. Yada yada, things go on, and then here's another incident or event that I wanted to discuss. Pretty egregious, and this is definitely a failing on the ref. I understand it's easy to kind of autopilot when you're doing epee, but there's really no excuse for this considering that it's like the Pan American Games. So fencer on the right, again, they're gonna kind of mangle the distance a little bit. He's gonna end up like literally crushing onto Curtis's ankle. Ouch, dude. He's understandably upset because, hey, if you're gonna card him for an accidental kind of like arm wrap around, are you not gonna, if not card, at least call halt when the dude's like literally crushing his ankle? And again, Curtis isn't getting like overly upset here or like at the ref. He's just like, hey, be consistent. This dude's crushing on me. So again, he's like, hey, come on, be consistent, and he's understandably upset. So it's like it is a slow buildup, and there is an argument to be made, like, hey, have control over your mental, have control over your emotions. That's fencing. Easy for us to say, at our little keyboards, not at the Pan American Games during an Olympic qualification season. Full touch. And this is not even a sportsman thing. There's just like poor fencing or poor, yeah, poor decision making, I guess. So right here, he tries to time the ale and it just doesn't work out for him. It's like super, super egregiously ahead of it. Of course, it's a red card, right? Go on guard. Go, like, come on. Way off the false start. He knows he messed up. He's upset. Again, understandably, gets the red card. He's like, okay, end of bout. And he's like, ugh, is that poor sportsmanship? Yes, but like, we're adults. Dude, like, you can't handle a pissed off slap at a Pan American champs. Like, come on, man. Who cares? Yeah, he's smart. Like, good, good. This dude gets it. He's just like, hey, that's that's sport. People are gonna be upset. And then this is the moment where things kind of get out of hand at the end of the bout, right? So they're going, shaking their stuff, and then everyone starts, oh, what's this commotion over here? And it's ends up being Curtis having a meltdown and kicking, a little spectator barrier, punting it really. Right? Everyone's like, "Oh my God, this guy." So this is the moment. This is the moment. That's the black card moment, right? Oh, right. Is this childish behavior? 100%, 100%, right? And his teammate, oh, get off me, man. It's like that's some kid shit for sure. But it's like, dude, like in the grand scheme of things, like he kicked a piece of paper and styrofoam. Who gives a shit, right? Oh, blah 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 blah. And so now he gets black carded, right? And here's the thing that I draw a lot of contention with. According to the rules and according to, all the discussion and stuff that's going around, he is black carded. And because there's a team event, the black card applies to the entirety of the men's epee team. And so what that means is they get absolutely no, no points for this event that they otherwise place, fairly highly at. And this it doesn't put them completely 1,000% out of the running for the Olympic Games technically, but like they're out of the Olympic Games. They're not gonna make it. As much as I want them to, they're not gonna make it. They'd have to like be freaking outstanding. And it's like, prove me wrong. Hopefully they prove me wrong. I don't think that they're going to be in the Olympics, unfortunately. What I think is bullshit is this black card was awarded to the entire team technically because the bout was not over. It was the fencing not over because if we rewind right here, the score is 45 to 42. Everyone has shaken hands. There's no more fencing going on. All right, and I hate that people want to be like, well, it's like even sign the score sheet. It's like, dude, come on. It's such a technicality, and it's like, dude, you're gonna black card the entire team because the score sheets weren't signed because the bout is not yet over. The bout's over, dude. There's no more fencing going on. All right, let's like literally like let's just use our head logically and think about that, right? So I think it's kind of dumb that the black card was applied to the entire team. Black card Curtis, sure, it's childish, whatever. Get him out of there. But it should not apply to the entire team. I think that's super dumb. I think it's like nitpicky and a classic case of like, fencing, oh, technicalities and proper, we're so proper in rules. That's hella dumb, in my opinion. This part is where he really gets in trouble, I think, where he shoulder checks, starts beefing with this ref. Come on, dude. Don't do that. Don't do that. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty heated. He's making a scene, and he's like, "Oh, don't touch all this stuff." So I don't know. That's the end of that. Bottom line, I think it is a little silly that the entire team is black-hearted. Curtis, get it together, man. It's not the end of the world, As much some dude down here is like, he just ruined his entire career. No, he didn't. Shut up, dude. I, it's a low moment, and he can come back from it. Maybe there's a learning moment for him, But yeah, those are my thoughts on it. The black card should not have been applied to the whole team. And I miss you, Race, so much. Mwah. Bye.